Okay, so welcome to the second of our Let's Plays for COMP3218, University of Southampton, Game Design and Development. So I'm Dave Millard, I'm here with Charlie Hargood and Ricky Prince, and we're going to have a look at some of the coursework submitted by our students for their second coursework. Charlie, do you want to say a little bit about what they were asked to do?
Sure, so the specification for this coursework was to create a game that was an interactive adaptation of one of three fairy tales, Little Red Riding Hood, Hansel and Gretel, or Three Billy Goats Gruff. We wanted to make sure that the students included some form of story engine within their game that was modelling the events of the story and allowing the narrative to unfold.
Wonderful. So our first game up in this batch is Hansel and Gretel Have a Picnic, maybe.
Okay. So here we go. So we've got Gretel, presumably. Oh no, you're Hansel and you're looking at Gretel. Okay, fine. So you've got a little, what looks like an inventory system down the bottom there, 3D character models in a game unfolding around you, but not necessarily any inclination about what you're supposed to be doing yet. Health bars for you and your sibling, and a texture failure that's causing the wall to be purple. That's alright, I'm going to forget that.
So other than the texture failure, looks pretty nice.
Yeah, indeed, pretty gorgeous. In fact, I'd say nice use of some assets that they got from somewhere. Okay, yeah.
Press
Meant to
F
know
to
about
search.
this?
Nothing interesting here.
Okay.
So looks like this is a kind of adventure.
Can you talk to Gretel?
Ah. Trying to play hide and seek.
Oh, options. What should we do, guys?
Go on then. Let's have a go.
Yeah, go on. Why not?
Closer?
You go and hide first. No peeking. Nice.
Nice.
Okay.
Where's she gone?
So presumably we
So-
have to go and find her.
Another little texture sad in the corner there. But
I imagine loading this, the
So we
20-minute load.
we had some problems loading the assets for this game, didn't we? So it's
it's-
probable that they were there and
just
Yeah,
haven't
the-
quite.
we just haven't got
the,
them.
the executable didn't run, and
So I think we'll ignore. We'll
yeah,
ignore those
that's
ones.
not a.
Okay.
Where do we
So
think
where
she
do you
is?
think? Can we look in the
Can't go upstairs.
look in the boxes? Can you go up to the box or the barrels in the corner?
Barrels are the obvious option to me.
Is there any way to look?
Okay.
Oh,
Hang
What
on.
happened?
Little bug.
yeah, it looked like a bug.
Okay.
Presumably we can only do things. Oh, there we go.
Ah, F to search.
F to
Right.
search, there we
Nope,
go.
not in here.
In the barrels.
Nope, not in here.
Okay. Really likes doing that eye-opening filter.
In fairness, people blink all the time.
That's true.
They're just never seen it incorporated
Never
into
see
a
it in
game.
games.
But that slowly as well.
Go on, is she in one of the drawers? I'd be impressed.
Yeah.
No.
Looks like
It's going to be weird in VR, isn't it, when the game blinks for you?
Okay.
These
right.
cupboards, maybe?
Yeah, could be.
Oh yeah, I reckon this is it. Yeah.
Found me!
Good. Nice.
Take
Here we go,
that.
here she is. Right, let's go and talk to her again.
Huh?
Your turn to hide. Okay. What do you fancy?
Where's she gone?
She's gone to...
Can we hide in the
Book-
bookcase?
Yeah, go on, hide in the bookcase. Father, hi kids.
Kids, we're home.
Oh, this is nice, actually.
Yeah, this is a cute way of doing it. I like this.
So you actually hide and then you overhear the conversation naturally.
Yeah.
That's really good. I like that a
Yeah.
lot.
Do you know
So-
one of the motivations for this? They didn't want to find any character art for the other people.
That's fine.
No, but that was an optimization rather than anything. I think they used the narrative technique primarily.
I mean, so in the course we talk about kind of trying to actually weave the narrative into the game, making the game mechanics part of the actual narrative itself.
Yeah, indeed.
So
And they've done that, right? They've
and a key part of this story is
absolutely.
that they overhear this conversation. Yeah,
And they needed to be hiding because otherwise
Yes.
they wouldn't have had that
yeah.
conversation. So
Only possible downside. This is quite a long, uninteractive conversation.
Yes.
Bit text heavy. But
There we go.
remember that text is very expensive in computer games. You don't get a lot of information density from it, and just having
Weren't we supposed to be
Serious
hiding
lots
from
of it.
Gretel?
yeah.
Did she not ever come? Well, we got out again.
Oh, press F to go to bed. So that, okay,
So I guess
that's
we
not quite
won.
so obvious. I think it'd be
But-
better if she'd come and got you and then said, right, it's time
Yeah.
for...
On for hours.
We should try and find some shelter and then we can look for them in the morning.
Only one option. It looked like there might have been more options there.
We've still got leftovers from it. Here you go. Okay, so...
Do you want to pick those up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ow.
Can you just stand on them? Or?
F is the. Doesn't look like it. Hang on. There you
Oh.
go.
Eat and share. Okay. She feels better, but she's lost all crumb possibilities. Right. Okay.
Where do you reckon we go? Not that way. There's a light this way.
Yeah.
Good use of a little bit of something to draw the eye in order to catch the attention of somebody of the player.
Is she following? Yep, she's there.
So that's one thing as well to bear in mind with this as well. It's a nice sort of use of the 3-act structure. They haven't taken advantage of immediate res. What they've done is they've actually played out the first act of Hansel and Gretel by having the kids playing at home and then moving into the action. Yeah. That does mean that you don't have a lot of the sort of drama up front, but I think by incorporating that game to begin with, you sort of do engage the player at least.
And also it's going back to our first coursework, it's introduced the controls, it's introduced how it works. You're in a much smaller, safe environment. Now you're in this big open world space, and you're required to be a bit more confident and explore, and you feel you can do that. So.
You're very right. It's a nice tutorial. It's like almost Half-Life-y. Like you get a very nice, slow-paced introduction to get the hang of everything.
So far, nice characterisation of the protagonists as well. They've gone for the everyman / everywoman protagonist archetype for both Hansel and Gretel by making them seem very normal and human and vulnerable. By making sure you pick up on things like food and you pick up on things like them wanting to play and things to make them feel very easy.
This place freaks me out.
Shelter?
Yeah, go on.
Right, it's just a little bit of engagement.
I just wondered, we're kind of getting a little bit, we're a little bit lost. I just wondered if we might get a bit of guidance on where to go.
Yeah.
So
perhaps
there's no light over it. Oh, is that something? No, that's just a smudge on my screen.
Yes, head towards the fingerprints.
I don't really know where to go.
Yeah, indeed. Still don't feel that I kind of know what I'm doing here.
No,
sort of
I think they've lost the chance to. Is that the path?
There's a light there.
They've sort of lost the chance to use Gretel to
guide
prompt you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's important, even when you're doing a game about storytelling, that you don't forget basic
path, though, isn't there?
Game narrative techniques.
But there's various splits as well. So. Trying to use the lights to guide us in, but
I don't see
there's
only one light.
So obviously a key part of Hansel and Gretel is being lost, and also using the food to kind of leave breadcrumbs, basically.
Yeah.
Is that a thing? Can I drop breadcrumbs?
We haven't got anything because you ate it.
Maybe that's our problem. Maybe we shouldn't have eaten all the bread.
Maybe now we're just all hopelessly lost because we've.
Who played this one at the expo?
It was me.
Do you remember what happens?
No. We went somewhere. Sure, there was a house somewhere.
It could just be that they've. There's a light. Oh,
what's this?
It looks exciting, but I think it. Oh, it's a lake.
In order to drive the narrative forward, you do have to direct your players.
Yeah. I mean,
there's something about her being thirsty, but she hasn't said that, has she?
So one of the things we talked about in the lectures was about using the landscape to drive the narrative, and about having kind of these narrative landscapes.
No, it's just the standard.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think we're progressing, and
so I think
yeah.
So right,
there's clearly narrative options here, aren't there? It's just
I'm wondering.
It's
yes,
not obvious what the result of them is.
I think unfortunately, in getting you lost in this forest and not giving you any guidance or even a time limit on it that gives you guidance later, they sort of rob the player of the ability to progress the narrative.
Yeah, they have. You really are stumbling around. I'm not even sure if if we had the food, I'm not even sure what I'd be doing with it.
No, I think the only thing you could do with it was eat it. I don't think that was an option to pick it up.
Yeah. So there's another light off to the left there.
Should we go straight towards that one? I don't know if we're just backtracking over where we've gone.
If only we had some way of leaving breadcrumbs, Ricky. We'd be kind of...
But again, they haven't explained how to do that.
Yeah. There's something over there.
Is this a house? Oh.
It's a thing. We found a thing.
Something at least.
Nice. Scary.
It's not a great thing.
Okay.
No interaction.
Okay,
no.
but again,
so we might have made progress. Just further along.
Yeah, I think it's a real problem, isn't it? It's a shame because I think it started off really well.
It did. It started off excellently. I think there was some good characterisation, some good use of early techniques.
Yeah.
There was a story arc in place. Evidently, there's at least some form of story engine. However, they sort of allowed their design to stop us seeing the further value of the game here, which is a great shame.
Yeah. So do you remember if there's what happens beyond this at all, Ricky? Do you get to the house or
anything in my notes? Yeah, I seem to remember there being a house. I'm sure there was something to do with Gretel wanting some water. Like after eating, she got thirsty, and we were meant to go to.
Unless we just missed that.
Yeah. Or... I guess the lesson here is that you can do these things, but they can be very subtle. Like sometimes you just need to hit the player over the head with it.
Are you suggesting that we're not the sort of people to pick up on subtle clues?
Okay,
so I mean, I mean, it's also worth saying that it's very polished. I think the controls look good. It's got a whole inventory system going on. The graphics assets are used really well. The sound effects are good. I don't know if it's coming across on the video, but there's some good sound effects and some eerie music. They've used atmosphere really well. Yeah. They've done a really nice job. So yeah.
Okay.
Should we
spilt my tea everywhere? Yeah.
That's how excited Dave is.
That's how I'm excited. Shall we try?
I think we need to move on.
Yeah, we're going to have to move on. It's a shame. But lots of potential.
Yeah, lots of potential. I think in summary, there's definitely a story engine there. Although unfortunately, because we're unable to progress with the game, we can't really see what that advantages that story engine might bring. However, on the flip side of the coin, from the point of view of techniques, there is definite use of pacing. There's definite use of an act structure here that's making advantage. There's some characterization of the protagonist characters that I think work very, very well. And they've used some nice presentations. So,
good.
Okay, well, moving on then.
We'll have to head on.
Okay.
Is there a way of jumping to one of the scenes?
Oh, possibly.
Just because
the thing is, it might not. You can't really do that with sort of coursework because of the story engine.
Maybe.
It's not going to record the.
We can skip the Lady Dungeon.
I'll be worried if you can skip the scene and it works because it means there isn't really a story engine.
Oh yes, I remember Lady Dungeon.
Another earthquake. I need to find Gretel. So is it worth saying just quickly what we've done here? So we decided we'd go back into Unity and see if we could load up some of the other scenes just to get a sense of what else was in this. Of course, what that might have done is messed up any kind of story engine that they had going on in terms of remembering events and so on. But I think at least it'll give us a sense of how big the game is, of what they've been trying to achieve.
Sure.
So so we've just woken up in this dungeon. We found Gretel. The last thing I remember is knocking on the door of that cottage. That would be the cottage we
couldn't find in the forest.
So the old lady, she must be some sort of witch. Okay.
Let's get out of here.
Always listen to Dad. Can you find a key? Okay, good.
Can we find it?
So I mean, but that's nice as well. So using the characters to give us our goals.
Yeah.
So this is the bit where we get lost in the dungeon and then have to load up the next scene. F to open the door. So we've got an axe and a key.
Fantastic.
F to collect axe. Definitely collect the axe. You.
It's not letting me.
We can't collect the axe.
Can I collect the key instead?
Press F to collect the key. Can't go on with an axe.
Can we collect the key?
No. I reckon this might be a state machine thing. We're probably not allowed to collect.
I think it probably is.
That thing.
So that's a bit unfortunate.
What a shame.
All right.
Is
it worth just jumping to the next scene as well? I know this is a bit imperfect, but
let's have a quick look at the last one.
Old lady home. See if this runs.
So I saw some of the dungeon in the expo. I don't think I saw the old lady home.
Okay, so presumably at this point, is Gretel behind you? She might tell us what we're supposed to do.
The hitbox for the mouse cursors. No, I think we're outside the state machine.
Yeah. Okay. So it looks to me that they've that other than that, she's still breathing. She deserves to die. Go on.
Not up to us if she decides to live or die. Maybe you're right. Let's just go home. The end.
Okay, so I think I think all our comments stand. I think they've actually done a pretty nice job.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shame we got a bit lost in that forest and we couldn't see it progress, but it looks to me that they've used the characters to deliver some of the key points. They've definitely got it working with the story. It's very very polished, very professional looking piece actually. Just shows you how just little things like losing us that guidance in the forest actually has this massive difference on the experience of the game. But anyway, I'm glad we went back and had a look. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, good stuff.
Good spot, Dave.
Okay.
Finn. This next game is The Swan, the Witch and the Story Engine.
Which is a great title, if nothing else.
Indeed. So that clove of garlic, believe it or not, is a swan.
Oh, I thought it was a swan.
So I could see what it was as well, but apparently they had a lot of people who didn't realise what that was.
I can't believe it looks like an old lady with a big nose to me.
Yeah, that too.
Okay, so here we are
It's a
in the
shot,
forest. So
here you
presumably
are.
go
Like
right.
drone
Off about.
racer.
How is your swan handling, Ricky?
It's not bad. It's easier than a drone.
Ah, there we go.
Right, here we go. So now have the next bit.
Hansel, help! My sister and I have been locked in here by an evil witch.
Lost in the forest, trying to find our way home.
They left a trail of breadcrumbs. We couldn't find them.
Please get us out. The key is in the north.
Okay, so again, good use of
Let's go
using
for it.
the characters to
Indeed,
tell us
to
what's going
progress
on.
the
Give us our
So now we have a maze.
It's an interesting control mechanism for this sort of game. I'd expect the more like walkie.
More direct one rather than the
Yeah.
sort of drift.
Sort of,
yeah.
oh no, it feels a bit like Micro Machines.
Yeah, it is odd, isn't it?
So maybe the swan is on wheels. We can't see its legs.
So there's the keys at the top right.
Yeah, indeed.
Oh,
So,
no, wait.
You really have.
Yeah, no. All the little gaps between the things.
Couldn't you just fly? You're a swan.
Can swans fly?
yeah.
It's those big wings. Sort of.
Okay, so we've got so what we've got here is we've got a simple sort of like top-down maze-based game. You've got thing. Now we've got a cutscene with some fantastic programming art styles.
Lovely art.
Ah.
Lovely
Yeah.
art.
That's fine.
Much
that's
better
fine.
than the snowman art.
We don't grade artwork here. They made use of a simple imagery cutscene, and notes there as well that they concentrated on visuals rather than presenting you with a whole bunch of text. Right? They had
That's
high
true.
information
That's true.
density in that cutscene.
Although I think they are taking us at our word that we're not grading art. All right.
Like
Okay.
if it had been stylistically like the rest of it, or if the rest of the
Yeah.
game had been like that throughout, it might have worked. Straight to the door. Which door? House.
Door of
or-
the house, I
yeah,
guess.
they wanted to let them out, I guess.
Yeah.
It's Hansel
Save
Gretel.
them.
He's just in a stew. Let's go kill the witch.
Another cutscene.
Another cutscene.
Chuck the witch
Like
in a
it.
pot and done.
Finished.
Okay, so it's small and
Cute.
simple.
Okay, together.
Right.
Okay, well let's think about this. So in terms of a story engine, we've definitely got some state. We've got the kind of where we've got the key. We've got
Yeah,
kind of the
indeed.
dialogue.
Quite
Is
simplistic
It's
state.
very
Is that
simplistic.
story state or is that a
No, it's the
Not
thing.
really.
It's really it's game state. It's
Yeah.
much like we sort of said with some of the other games, where it's a case of you're storing the very basic state machine of what's going on in the story essentially, but it's really not very sophisticated. They
So
do
that-
have a 3-act structure. Okay, where a dramatic question is posed.
Yes,
okay,
yeah.
a solution is overcome.
Yep,
You
the
acquire the
maze.
means to solve the
Yeah.
question and go through the trials of the maze, and then a dramatic conclusion is reached. And arguably, not necessarily in a particularly elegant way, but the pacing is sort of like going up and then
There's
climaxing.
some stuff
and that.
there.
So there's some things there.
In terms of agency, I mean they're controlling the agency through the level design really, and for me that's the whole thing about the story engine. It's like what they've done is they've used the level design to manage the progression of the story. It's narrative as travel, effectively as journey.
Yeah.
With that one addition of actually being given the mission and then coming back to the mission and then unlocking it and carrying on.
Sure.
So it would have been nice, I think, if they'd done a little bit more than that, but it is there.
Yeah.
So yeah, your agency is very limited, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. What do we think about the way in which the gameplay and the narrative come together? I mean, are they?
I don't think
Is
they
there any kind of
necessarily. I mean, I guess
resonance
the
there?
Hansel and Gretel is about being lost, and they've made use of a maze in order to underline
Yes,
that
that's
theme.
true.
But I don't know. I didn't really feel like the mechanics were necessarily really strongly contributing to the telling of the story. They may have had that sort of underlying thematic contribution.
I think they. Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because there are obvious things to pick up on. So we've seen some of the other games pick up on the breadcrumbs, for example. They've really gone from the antagonist, the witch is the antagonist, or they've kind of looked at the being trapped in the oven, and here they've not really done any of those things.
Again, they haven't really done any characterisation in this. The witch is the antagonist, but entirely irrelevant and unintroduced until the end of the game. The Swan, I guess, is the protagonist, but entirely characterless. Again.
Yes, yeah, that's true.
So but these are all tools they could have used to really underpin the story, but didn't really take advantage of.
So kind of like a very straightforward game with a very simple narrative implementation, which does have some of those things in that we wanted to see, though, doesn't it? So.
Despite the lack of raw artistic ability, I think the cutscenes were of good use. Right, it's another good example of them making.
And we weren't swamped by masses of dialogue and masses of text.
Indeed.
It was neat and tight.
I think this is a good example of what the mini game was trying to do. That was a nice little mini game maze that was sort of thematically related to what the aesthetic you're trying to get across with Hansel and Gretel of being lost. Bookended with the story elements and
with a very natural
together.
Progression into it. You just moved in from the rest of the game.
By not trying to do too many mini games, they're focused on that one, and it's fairly well polished.
Sure. Like I say, if you zoom out, then and we think about what we're actually really looking for in this coursework, you have a story engine present there, but it's quite simplistic. There's not a lot of management of agency because there's not really necessarily a lot of meaningful choices being made. The mechanics underline the themes of the story, but don't necessarily underline the storytelling itself. And as far as techniques go, although they've made good use of cutscenes, they haven't really made use of any other character telling or storytelling techniques within the game.
So there's a foundation there, but we would have liked to see a bit more sophistication. I think.
Sure. Yeah. Agreed. Let's move on. I think.
I want to try one thing. We can cut this if it doesn't work.
No, go for it.
I want to see whether we can go through the other door.
Well, also, can you go up to the north?
Oh, there?
Yeah.
That's the base.
You've got the key. So what happens if you get the key first?
What do you mean?
Go and collect the key. You haven't talked to Hansel and Gretel yet.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I just skipped it.
It's triggered or something.
Yeah, as you come in, you're forced to speak.
Okay. Well, okay, that's another way of managing the agency, I guess. I have to say the layout of that maze is actually not bad. It actually does take a bit of thought to.
Yeah, good maze design. Maze design isn't easy to make a sort of interesting and engaging maze.
Yeah, but there's nothing in here. I mean, there's no breadcrumby type trails or anything going on here that kind of.
That could have been an interesting way of weaving the narrative back in.
Yeah, just
like if this had been where Hansel and Gretel had been, and the swan is following the breadcrumbs because it likes breadcrumbs.
Yeah. Or maybe you follow the breadcrumbs there, but as you follow them, you eat them, or they get eaten behind you.
Let's move on.
Absolutely.
Okay, so good basis, but I think it needs to just a bit more sophistication, a bit more of all of the things they're starting to do, really. But good. Okay.
Well done.
I hope it works. It's a good one. Yep.
Okay.
So who marks this one?
Game is Hansel and Gretel 3D Maze.
Okay.
Oh yes,
Lovely
this is all I
polish.
played.
So I looked at this one in the expo. It's really well put together, actually.
Yeah. They showed me this as well. This is the maze that I was referring to. That's really complicated.
Yeah. So also I like that start as well. Ready or not, here I come. The countdown, and off you go. And immediately the prompt on the right hand side.
Indeed, it's a sort of micro form of immediate res, right? Because you start in the middle of the action,
right in
the
middle.
action and story, but it means that even if you're doing, because this is the Act 1, right, where you're creating some background, you're still using that little bit of drama.
Nice use of visual storytelling as well, so there's not all this stuff about your dad being a woodcutter, he's just there cutting wood.
Indeed, good use of basically
I suspect you're going the wrong way.
Yeah, no, I've just come back because I couldn't find where Gretel was.
I might try going to the house.
In the house?
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, actually giving people direction of where to go is probably...
Oh, there's the door.
Is that the door?
No. Can't see an entrance.
Go out. It does say go out and find her.
Yeah.
Can you talk to the woodcutter or do anything with the woodcutter? No. I don't think so. So I'm trying to remember, because it's a little while ago, but I'm sure you can get in that house somehow.
Yeah, no, I've definitely...
Is there a door at the front? No. So I like the way they've it feels like an open space, but they have kind of blocked you in, haven't they?
Yeah.
There's the door there.
Where?
Is that the door or is that the back? That's the back of the house. What's that there? Is that the door?
I tried that once.
That's the door. Come on, that must be the door.
There's no way.
No.
We need walkthroughs, Dave. Through there?
No, I don't think you can get out. I think it's kind of. I
Clearly
think they've clearly sort of arranged the level so you're blocked. I think you've got to try and get in the house somehow.
Unless we started in the wrong level, maybe we should try main. Like maybe this event engine or something hasn't triggered.
It could be.
Anyone see where I haven't been?
No, I'm pretty sure you've got to get in the house.
Up and down, haven't I?
Yeah, you've got to get in the house, mate.
But I mean, it feels like the start, doesn't it? With that kind of counting at the beginning.
Impossible.
Oh, yeah. Must be that. That's definitely a door, isn't it?
That looks like a door.
Try pressing some interactive star buttons. Not that there's been any description of the controls or anything.
No, I think that's we've noticed that on a few of these, right? That there's very few that actually introduce what the controls are.
Or what you're supposed to be doing.
I mean, this one's given us a clear objective, but we don't know how to succeed at that objective. So we're basically completely stuck.
Where was she? I know. Let's have a look at the.
So I'm going to suggest we go and have a look at the level itself.
But that's level 2, isn't it?
Is that level? Yeah. So again, also in looking at the level, looking at the scenes, those scene descriptions don't tell us enough.
No.
Should main be the first one, or should level 1 be the main first one? Playing Gretel.
So we're playing.
Can you go over the farmland there to the left?
Ah!
There you go.
Oh.
So we're there moaning, and all it is we're really bad at finding Gretel.
Yeah.
But that's a barrier. Everything else along this path is a barrier.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
We're in.
I think that's partly our fault.
Yeah.
But find father. Okay. Well, we know where father is.
We've been to see him lots.
Well, your mother's making supper. You better go and help her. Oh, okay.
So I think perhaps the one mistake they did make was we did go and try and talk to him as soon as we found him. So actually, some kind of hint.
Indeed. Well, like you say, controlling agency. Or even just putting a little fallen tree or something so you can't go off to the house.
Or even then, you went straight in the house there.
Yeah.
And I think if you tried to go in the house before and it should have popped up and saying
Mother
him should have said,
Gretel,
go and get Gretel, or I can't come in here yet. I need to find Gretel.
Yeah.
Just some kind of prompt. I mean, they're minor things, but they really help with the play.
Talk to your mum.
Cooking dinner. Go and help her. Oh, there she is. Yeah. Let's go and.
Where have you two been?
We're sorry. Can we help you?
Take this pail and go get some water.
I love the voice acting again.
I think the voice acting's great.
Yeah. One of the things
students as well.
One of the things I've learned on this course is how difficult it is to do voice acting.
There's a well, but there's also like a little trough of water there. I don't know if that's what
Go. Oh, it says return water. Go back and give the water to your stepmother.
Have we got it?
Yeah. You got it.
So I get the right. Well, need a little bit of visual feedback there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe even just carrying a bucket might have helped.
Oh, here we go.
Dinner. Good night.
Thanks.
Go downstairs.
Okay. Bedtime.
I think the stairs are over here from memory. In the room.
I think you saw them earlier on, didn't you? In the corner.
I can't really see.
Yeah, a bit of a lighting problem, isn't it? If you go around the table, right, come around that way.
No, there's an invisible wall just now.
Go downstairs to your bedroom and sleep.
Oh, there they are.
They're down here.
Nope.
They're definitely down.
There we go.
Ah, there you go. Okay, so go to bed.
Okay. This is like a bee. water.
More water.
We can't afford to feed all 4 of us.
Nice little
I
cutscene.
know, but isn't there something else we can do?
Yeah.
You know
This is
there isn't.
dark.
Yeah, okay. We're going to the forest today.
God, like he's been told got to tidy his room.
That's right, yeah.
Children. Okay.
Something ominous about a man standing with an axe discussing getting rid of it.
Go and take a stroll through the woods.
What if I don't want to?
So that's so there are lots of nice things about this, but one of the things that is a bit odd is that we talked about the narrative paradox and the fact that actually your player character isn't necessarily going to the things that are necessary for the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case you wouldn't do this, right? You would immediately go and you'd confront your parents, or you'd run away, you'd do something.
Sure.
And they've kind of railroaded you into it to a certain extent.
Sure.
Is that a good or a bad thing?
Well, it's a combination. Right? It means
Well,
that you maintain narrative cohesion, but you lose agency, you lose immersion as a result.
That's nice.
Yeah, nice effect of
Time passing.
Yeah.
Changing the
So visually, this game is beautiful. Right?
Well, also it's the integration of the cutscene. So that cutscene where you come up and overhear them, what's actually happening is that you literally encounter them in place, don't you? And the cutscene happens in front of you, and there again it happens in place. So here, what you can do is you can drop breadcrumbs to help find your way through this maze.
Yeah.
And actually, I quite like the fact they're little light up crumbs as well. It kind of makes a
bread.
Sweet bread.
yes, there you go. So they have definitely taken the core idea of Hansel and Gretel and tried to incorporate it into the mechanic.
I'm trying to figure out if there is much of a story engine here. I think that the game is quite elegant and sophisticated in its own way, but I think it is just a natural progression of tasks.
Yes.
I don't know how much underlying modelling of the content of the narrative is going on as a part of the game.
No.
I
think it's another example of the narrative being modelled through the level design, basically, isn't it?
So I think
it's there. The progression of the levels does move you through. It builds a premise. It gives you something to understand. It kind of sets out the context of the story. But you're right. There's not really much of an engine keeping record of the choices you've made, or narratively changing what happens, or even getting different snippets. I think every time you played it, you get exactly the same story, no matter what you did and where you went.
It's a straight-up linear game, which, as we've discussed, is not a problem. Okay, it's fine to make a linear story, but the fact is the game is responding in an intelligent way.
You use the phrase linear game, and that's the problem. I think is it's a linear story, but a linear game. And I think what you want to have is a dynamic game happening. Whether the story is linear or not,
and this is like, you mean the overall story, like the start to end overall story, the way you experience that story, and the micro events that happen along the way.
This period now is the bit where you've got the most obvious opportunities to do something, because there are things that could happen in this maze. And every time you play the game, you could get a slightly different experience.
Yes.
And I think just giving you the bread to start with,
it must be around here somewhere.
you can imagine discovering more bread. You can imagine discovering things other than just more bread, that might help you
tell the story.
Tell the story a bit more,
So let's try and sum this up a little bit. So I think there is a story engine there, but it's pretty mild. It's taking a straightforward game through.
It's using a basic progression.
Mechanics as narrative, there is a degree of that to some degree, to some element.
This bit's nice. I thought the laying the breadcrumbs
exactly.
Is quite nice. How effective it is, I'm not entirely sure. It does kind of work to remember your route, but it's not particularly fun.
I'm not sure they've necessarily done much with agency, because you don't really have any true agency in the story. And indeed, the agency you do have isn't controlled in the sense that you can easily distract yourself from what you're supposed to be doing. That bit at the beginning, the fact that we were able to spend ages trying to figure out how to get in the house, sort of should have been controlled a little bit more, maybe. On the other side of the coin, though, from a storytelling point of view,
What is this?
They had a nice little sort of injection of sort of small version of media res by getting you straight into the action,
Yes.
getting the player engaged, but then a lull in the drama in order for the pacing to then escalate again. So very nice use of pacing. I think the characterization has been good. Okay,
It has
the Hansel and Gretel feel very human. Okay, they feel again like sort of everyman protagonists in that they've made them vulnerable, but also very very relatable. And again, the parents as antagonists.
And one of the things we haven't mentioned is that they're chatting as they're running around.
Sure.
And that's very good for characterization as
Well,
well.
it's also high information density, Dave, right? By having that dialogue happening while you're playing the game, you're getting across information without having to stop the player and play in order to take away from everything else you're doing. I also want to mention as well that even though it was only just a light touch, there was a little bit of character design in making the parents antagonists as well. They were narratological antagonists that weren't obviously evil, but were contributing to the story in a sort of in a way that they were sort of I don't know what
and hands off them for the polish. I mean, it's a brilliantly polished game.
It is indeed, although I think that they really need to fix their lighting. The lighting is not very good, but everything else is good. Okay, I think given
this is a known very hard puzzle. I'm not sure
we could be here a
need to
while.
move on, I think.
So but good job. I think really nicely put together.
Play this in your own time, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
marvellous.
Nice work.
Our next game is Hungry Mr. Wolf.
Okay, sounds promising.
Okay.
Help, I imagine. Okay, WAD to move, E to interact character, space to jump.
So beat Little Red Riding Hood to her grandmother's house. Oh, this is nice. So you play the wolf.
Yeah, indeed.
Oh,
You play the wolf.
Okay,
Fine.
I think is this the first one we've played where you play the wolf?
Well, I guess you sort of had the
there was
multiplayer
one
where you could play both the dragon.
Oh, the
and
dragon and the wolf. Yeah.
But,
I think there was another one where you were the wolf, wasn't there?
But hats off to a game finally telling us what the controls were. Okay.
What's this?
I'm gonna go to grandma's house. Just straight up on these platforms.
So I played this one at the Expo. You play the wolf, okay, and it's a platformer.
Ooh, this is weird.
But it has a small story element aspect in that normally you're racing the Red Riding Wolf in the foreground, but because you centre the longer way, she'll take longer to get there. So there's a little bit of story engine going on there. The rest of this is very much a platform.
I love the thing with her in the background.
Yeah,
With the
she's
kind
still
of
there.
yeah, she will be further back somewhere because you've.
That's really nice. So you managed to get to the house before the Red Riding Hood. We're almost ready to eat her. A woodcutter stops you and
There's a
saves
little
her.
background, isn't there? I think.
Yeah, indeed. This is a little cutscene, and there are variable endings. I think there's something you could do in order to stop the woodcutter being there.
Oh,
Okay.
is that the end? That was
That's
the
it.
ending.
Let's
That
do
was
it
an ending.
again.
Okay, let's try
So
again.
try again. Yeah, so
It's short enough that we
distract
can
Little
rapidly.
Red Riding Hood, or don't maybe this time.
There's a lot of options here. I wonder how many different variations.
What's the
they've gone
dot
for.
dot dot? That's a slightly
I think
odd
that's just
thing, isn't it?
Conti-
Oh, that's a great.
Oh.
I don't understand what that is. That
No.
dot,
That was
dot.
continue, I think. Those
So
fires have no
She's
effect.
still in the background. Okay.
There she is.
I thought maybe she'd be in the foreground. So there's the woodcutter. Do you want to talk to him?
Oh, can I?
I think so.
What was that? E.
Yeah.
Greetings. Hi. I hear screaming from the west. You're welcome. Go.
Right. So now you've distracted him.
Okay.
Oh no.
Leapt straight into the fire.
Oh, that was neat though. Having the little ladder to actually get back up.
Yeah.
Why can't I?
Oh.
The fire does have an effect.
Ah, yeah. Your health bar's in the top left. Look. Okay. So let's try this again. So we're gonna talk to the woodcutter and start him on his way.
We're going to ignore her and let her get on with it. Jump over the fire. The little 3D platformy thing is a little bit strange. You can't quite.
Yeah,
It makes
feels a bit sticky.
the bounding a little bit.
Partly it's because the wolf isn't. Oh. You're welcome. Okay.
That isn't what I wanted to do.
I think you've not done it, have you?
No, you had a you're welcome. That's what you ended with last time. wasn't it?
No,
I
you
didn't.
didn't tend to go off to the west though. But Ricky can't make this jump
He
anymore,
can't,
so it's sort of
apparently.
irrelevant.
How is it this so precision?
Wow.
Yeah, this is a bit of a weird jump, isn't it, to put in?
You've noticed it the first time.
No.
Right. Better hurry up. Oops, I think she might
Scratches.
already be there. Ah.
Yeah. She got there
Comes
and
and saves her
took
from
on Woodsman.
How do we ever
So
win?
we had a double failure then.
We're distracted this time. Let's head off to go and get some
So
flowers.
it's quite telling that we are actually quite invested in trying to get there and find out what happens.
So all of those conversation elements seem very like all of them seem to have a get out. It's like you've started the conversation, and then there's always a like, no, I'm not gonna do this anymore. Like this, ignore and carry on. You can say hi, but you can also I'm minding my own business and carry on. Yeah. But that's like only one of them's an action. Like you have to follow one particular path through all of them.
I find this dialogue a bit weird actually. That dot I really don't.
Here you go, Ricky. It's your favourite drum.
Here we go, Ricky. You can do it.
Go for it.
No, he can't do it.
Too early.
No. It's very precision.
Hey. I think she might already be there.
No, we sent the long route this time.
Oh, do we?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And a gravel all to yourself with no pesky woodsman.
So,
there we go.
Victory.
Spectacular. Okay, so
there are some nice consequences. There's obviously a little story engine going on that's modelling you know what happens during the game.
Sure.
The choices are all are not all dialogue choices, because some of them are to do with how fast you get to the end and whether or not you beat Red Riding Hood. So there's some good stuff going on there, I think.
Sure, I think so. There is definitely a story engine. It's a race as well, which means they have a little bit of some degree of the idea of mechanics as a storytelling element as well, because that's a fundamental part of Red Riding Hood. So we have to applaud their efforts for that too. Yeah. There is, I guess, there is agency in that you have decisions you're making. Those decisions are meaningful. You see the influence of those, but the decisions are still within the restrictions of the narrative, right? They're still coherent in terms of the story. So that's all very nice. From the more technique point of view, I'm not sure there's much of a 3-act structural pacing here, right? It sort of starts off in the game, stays in the game, and then is still in the game at the end, right? There's not much of a sort of structure or a pace there that sort of varies in any way, and that's a bit of a shame. I also don't think that really, due to the curt, short nature of the dialogue and the exposure, there's not much characterization, really. No. I mean, I guess you could argue that the wolf is an anti-hero here, that you're playing as a protagonist, but one of the things with anti-heroes is you're supposed to be able to sort of really connect with them, and I don't think I connect with the wolf in this short example. So it's I don't think they've quite pulled that off. So I mean, my impression is that it's a perfectly reasonable game. Okay, it has a nice little story engine in there. It's not super sophisticated, but they do a lot with the little. So
I think again, it's interesting that they. And I think we've seen this with a fair few of the games you've looked at, is they've got the foundation here that you could do some really interesting things. So if they hadn't gone with the dialogue to begin with, for example, and they had some other mechanic for causing Little Red Riding Hood to go the long way or not, right? So, for example, a difficult jump or a difficult set of platforms you need to go up, which causes something to fall over or means that she goes the long way around or something. They could have built that much more into the gameplay mechanic itself.
Sure. Although I will also point out the fact that you see Little Red Riding Hood going the longer way and being slower is a nice touch. Right?
That is nice. The thing with her in the background is lovely.
Well, it's a good way. They could have said, okay, at the end of the conversation, have some text go up saying Little Red Riding Hood has gone the long way and it's going to be slower, and that would be an example of poor information density, right? Yeah. Whereas you can just show it and then make that part of the game. So they made use of that. So that was.
And I like the fact that they've picked a key bit from the fairy tale, and they've actually made that the game, like that kind of racing her to the house. And flipping it and making you the wolf anti-hero is also quite cute. So some nice thinking going behind this one, I think.
That's very good.
Cool. All right, let's move on. I think.
I agree. So this game is Hansel and Gretel old school RPG.
Okay, so it's worth noting immediately as we're starting this game, while Ricky's going for the intro thing, is we actually already did the commentary for this game, but we forgot to record. So
we're such professionals.
We're going to go through this again now, but however, what we may do is talk about things ahead of context in the game. So while Ricky's going through this conversational type thing, I think it's worth talking about some of the really strong aspects of this game. We felt that there was a lot of very good narrative structure in this game and use of narrative technique. Yeah. So not only does it have a clear bit of structure here where you're sort of posed with this initial dramatic question of wondering where Gretel is and getting the...
Talk to your mother again.
Yeah, talking to the father. But there's also actually some clear parallels between this game and the hero's journey. Not only do you have this little bit of part where you're starting to think about going looking for Gretel, but you have the sort of refusal of the call manifest in the sense that when you start thinking about it, Hansel goes back to bed. And then you still have this idea of crossing the threshold become apparent in the form of when you go to sleep and enter the dream world in this game and begin to think about trying to unravel the mystery. You sort of cross the threshold and go over to this other world, this world of adventure where you try to solve this mystery.
So let's follow that through. So we've just gone to sleep, and basically what happens is we start hearing Gretel's voice.
Brother, don't you remember? Gretel,
where are you?
Follow the breadcrumbs.
And then we wake up in this kind of dream world. And immediately one of the nice things is it's like I interpret this as being, this is like sort of Hansel's subconscious, and you're talking to these kind of representations of the people he knows here. So we've got father and mother. And you also encounter versions of Hansel.
Absolutely, it's him basically unraveling his own memories and self problems. But this is one of the things that's nice about the characterization in this game, right? As we talked about before, the idea that the characters are very relatable because Hansel himself is not a perfect, clean-cut hero. He's a little bit resentful of his mother, maybe a little bit spiteful, and by the same regard, the father isn't a straight-up antagonist. He's very reluctant to the fact that
So I love the fact that it's when you talk to them in this dream world that they begin to spill the beans.
Yes.
So mother's like, I can't wait to get rid of those horrible children. Yeah.
But this is exactly how they pace the game, right? They pace the game by slowly building the tension.
Yeah.
And by and they do that by slowly unraveling the mystery.
Yes.
More and more becomes apparent. And as things become apparent, the tension and the mystery.
So there you go. You've got the father who's kind of got the agents in to try and find the kids.
So just to return to the hero's journey here for a second. After crossing the threshold, we often talk a little bit about this idea of entering the belly of the whale, where there is a descent involved. So there is a going into dark places, and by moving around in this darkness of the dream world and sort of descending out of the house, it feels very much like that's the descent taking place. And you now have a situation whereby, at least in terms of the hero's journey, we're on the road of trials, and trials often come in sort of threes. And sure enough, in this particular example, you are tasked with finding 3 different versions of Hansel within his memories. He is essentially following 3 different memories, but the player has the agency to choose to do that in whatever order they like and to find different things.
It's a really nice visual barrier as well. So you want to go through the door, but you've got these 3 agent Smiths basically in a way. And it kind of, this is the bit that helps you out, right? Because you meet Hansel.
One of them is right next to it.
You say, what's behind the wall? You have to get past those guards.
Don't recommend it.
Will you help me? I dare say that will not be enough.
That's nice signalling that.
And then boom, got one
more.
So I think that's lovely. Putting one of them actually there, you can see it happen.
You see it happen. You know that's the.
So basically, what we need to do is find other versions of Hansel to help us out.
I also think
that's
it's
really powerful.
Worth noting at this point, as well as all the excellent design that's gone into the narrative aspects of this game. The game's incredibly polished. It looks beautiful. It plays very, very well.
It's very slick, isn't it?
The audio's lovely.
This is a module and a course about game design, but it's also about game development and being able to use game technology well, and this is an example of that.
So if you go off to the right, that's where the witch's house is, isn't it?
Yes.
Right.
So also like these
the agents.
So the other one we saw some agents go past, and then we talked to the agent and we discovered it. So I'm wondering whether we'll find out a little bit more about that person at some point. But so that's, I think the witch's house is off to the north. So again, the agency is being managed. It's being managed through kind of blocking of the doors, the unlocking of certain areas. The whole conversation actually. That there are definitely some modes that the game goes through as the narrative develops.
What's the thing? They give the little bit of immersion by giving you that agency and that freedom to do these things in the way you choose, but at the same time keep it heavily controlled so as not to break the cohesion of the storytelling. Something that's worth mentioning as well is that I think that there is definitely a story engine here, and a story engine is a big part of this coursework.
There's a Hansel.
There's a Hansel, so we've got another one for the list.
And a Gretel.
However, while the story engine is working, I think, to control these dialogue trees and also to control the flow of the logic in the game, I think there probably is more they could have done with it. Okay, they could have had the choice of doing particular Hansels in an order affect the story in some way,
That's
or the
true.
fact that certain parts of the mystery had been revealed to you in a certain order affect the story in any way. I don't want to be too critical here because I do think the engine they've implemented is quite effective.
Also,
it's worth noticing there's an opportunity for an improvement.
I mean, the other element is, you know, how much are the mechanics acting as a kind of, you know, metaphor for the story and so on. And we talked, you know, there's nice thematic elements. There's the use of the breadcrumb trail, so those things appear. But actually, the game dynamics themselves, it is just an exploration game. You're not actually doing anything other than exploring at this point.
Yes.
So it may have been nice to consider about having some other kind of puzzles or having something going on in this space.
You know what, I think a puzzle actually would be a mechanic that draws away from it. I quite actually like what's going on here, but there are other things you could potentially be doing. Okay, there could be not necessarily puzzles but mysteries, right? There are different sort of things there, and this game is all one big mystery.
Yes,
it's a case of trying to So let's see, you go upstairs. There's another Hansel, isn't there?
Yeah,
you're just poking around.
While you guys chatter.
There's the other Hansel. We saw him right at the beginning. So that's also quite nice as well, because when you meet the Hansel that you first activate, you do know you've already met at least one Hansel, so you know to go and talk to them.
Something. So this is the other thing as well that's worth bearing in mind at this point. Although there's quite a lot of textual dialogue in this game, okay, they do keep the text interactive with dialogue trees.
And it's short. It's very short.
It's quite short indeed. So what they've done is they've well managed the potential problem of text there.
So we found all the 3 Hansels now.
I think we have, yeah.
Okay. So hopefully, if we go back, we can get past the agents. So there's the.
It's just really nice. I want to play this game.
It's just very slick, isn't it? Very, and again, it shows you don't have to do stuff that you know is graphically sophisticated. Just clean.
Pretty
indeed.
good.
Well,
there's 2 characters here.
Strongly consistent art style, right? It's father.
That's father with all his regrets.
There was only one. There was only the nun here before.
So the father, I think, is it? No, the father was there before as well. I'm pretty sure she was.
But what you still have.
Yeah, they said.
So did you just say about losing his wife then?
Yeah, he did. So he's still got. Well, essentially, Hansel.
Really gone.
Okay. Yeah.
I couldn't even.
So this is the thing. It's I like the use of the father as a sort of a flawed narratological antagonist here, right?
Where have you been? I'm here waiting for you. Come back with me. This is only a dream.
Okay.
And we wake up.
So one of the things I mentioned.
Let's go back and see if she's still there in the real world.
One of the things I mentioned when we did this before was that the waking up from the dream feels a little bit like the hero's journey apotheosis. Typically in a hero's journey, when faced with the final challenge, you're unable to overcome it, so the character symbolically dies in order to overcome that. And so that's what. So in a sense here, Hansel has symbolically died by waking from the dream in order to solve the problem of finding Gretel, but it doesn't quite work out. She's here,
of course. Go through the door. Ooh.
So can't go back. You can't go left and right.
So all you can do is go forward. So definitely controlling of agency.
Yeah, this is a strong controlling of agency here in order to make this this final confrontation to be
grave. Here lies
inevitable.
Gretel. Dark. No. Child of woodcutter, friend to all.
It wasn't any easier the second time round.
No. When we did this the first time, we all had to take a little moment at this point. Yeah,
I need
very bleak, but really nice. I mean, I think the whole idea of kind of using the dream world to explore the story elements, to unpick and find out parts of what's going on.
Sure,
that's a really sophisticated use of narrative.
It's excellent. So I mean, if we're to go again to zoom out and remember exactly what is going on here, as far as the coursework is concerned, and story engine. There is clearly a story engine present, and it's used throughout the game. It could be used in a more sophisticated way. It's used in basically a way to sort of just handle some of the sort of small parts of the story, but I think that'd be overly critical to press on that too much. They still have made good use of the story.
I mean, and I think that the coherence bit, the fact that you are, yes, it is effectively sort of narrative by level designs, and you're unpicking bits of the narrative, but you are putting the narrative together in a really nice way by talking to different people, building up this mosaic. There's not at any point no massive text dump or massive information dump. It's done in lots of little ways, lots of subtle ways, and actually you're being told an awful lot by not only what they're saying, but also who's saying it and where they're saying it. Are they saying it in the dream world, or are they saying it in the real world?
Also, very strong use of managing agency. Okay, not only is agency and giving them the freedom to the player in order to be able to explore and do things in their own way, but it's controlled in order to maintain cohesion. And they have that little cessation of agency in the final scene in order to make that all the more effective.
Give it a real impact. Yeah.
Moving onwards and going on to the side of the techniques, I think there's a load of things there. I've talked a lot about the structure of the story of this game here, whereas intentional or not, I think they've made good use of the hero's journey. I also think the game's very, very well paced. Okay, could do with a little bit more drama at the beginning. Okay, but at least it doesn't necessarily pose that bit of motivation off at the start and to get them started. And by slowly revealing the mystery, there is a lot of a sort of increase in the tension as the game progresses.
And again, we've said it a couple of times, but it's worth finishing on just saying a really well executed game.
Yes,
right?
indeed.
Absolutely.
Very straightforward, but enormously effective graphics. Really nice use of audio.
Indeed.
The writing is good,
clean,
good level design,
easy to play, wonderful.
Yeah. Well done, guys.
Excellent job.
You may not be able to tell, but we like this one.
Yeah.
Good.
Very, very
well
good.
Well
okay,